Hi everyone, my name is Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and without further ado, welcome to my first in the 12 Friends 12 book series, where I'm going to present two kind of mini reviews for two books that I read as part of this series. So the first one I read, which you'll have already heard a little bit of the backstory behind it in the original video, but I read The Pursuit Of, which is a romance novella written by Courtney Milan. And actually, when I was looking at the reviews and looking at more of the history after I read it, which, like, of course, you should probably do this beforehand, Lily, I found out that this was kind of like in a novella series that Courtney Milan had written, also with Alyssa Cole and I think one other author. They were doing this, like, historical fiction romance series kind of partnership, and it's like, I love Alyssa Cole books, and so I'm really excited to delve more into this series and this world because it's a historical fiction and was set during the Revolutionary War, and at least The Pursuit Of is also an interracial romance and also a queer romance as well, a gay romance. And so I was really happy to see both of those marginalizations in this historical fiction time period. There's been a lot of discussion recently in the world about diversity and marginalized characters and stories in historical fiction recently. Bridgerton. I'm not going to be delving too deeply into that because, like, that's just definitely not something I'm part of, but I want to preface this by saying I have not done any research into this. I have not watched Bridgerton, seen, like, read Bridgerton. I know nothing about this except for, like, half an article I read, okay? So just wanted to throw this out there. It's obviously your opinion if you think I shouldn't even be talking about it because I haven't done any research on it. So, you know, just know I don't really care too much about historical accuracy, and I think that also history has a problem with telling and making known stories that very much fit a certain mold, especially because you can see this a lot in for example, the way that history, minimizes or doesn't give credit for accomplishments from women or accomplishments from people who don't fit into, like, the mold of basically whoever's writing the history books. Okay, this goes to, gender, it goes to sexism, racism, like, just all sorts of spectrums of the world. And so all I'm saying is, I really, bringing it back to the books, I really liked reading this, these characters in this historical fiction romance. I also really loved that Courtney Milan also talks about their difference in privilege and about their difference in their ethnicity as well, the two main characters in The Pursuit Of. So I love that it wasn't like we're gonna put these characters, which, okay, like, characters like this existed, okay, in history. I think there's also the misconception that, like, queer people or people of color, like, because we don't see them as much in the history books, especially for, like, all long, like, ages and ages ago history, that they didn't exist, but they do exist. And maybe they do, but they don't have the language or the rhetoric to kind of discuss it in the way that makes sense to us. And also the fact that, like, the people who are in power are the ones who are most likely and most often the ones who are writing and recording the history. So, of course, like, it's in their benefit to maintain the power. Okay, I did not want to talk about all of this because I was just like, oh, I don't want to. I don't want this to, like, turn into a video where I'm just essentially, doing what I'm doing, which is essentially being like, the history books are wrong and, like, they're written only by the oppressors. But that's kind of how I feel. So, let me get back to The Pursuit Of. I don't even know how I'm gonna edit this video. Like, editing me, good luck. Good luck to you because, this has gotten off on such a tangent. It's like, is any of this usable? Maybe I just leave, like, everything in as it is. But anyway, so that's why I really loved The Pursuit Of. And also, it was a novella, so I think that in a novella, sometimes you have to understand that since it is generally shorter. I find in novellas it's very important for me to be hooked by, like, the character or the intrigue, because I think in a long book, some people, not me, some people in a long book can, like, read 100 pages and then finally start getting to the action and being like, oh, okay, I know this, I like this, I'm a fan now. That's not me. But also, like, if you're reading 100 pages of a novella, that's like, could be almost the entire novella, right? So I feel like the pacing for certain things are definitely different considering the length of it. And so, for example, for me in The Pursuit of, I kind of really loved the characters' voices from more or less the beginning. So that was kind of really what drew me through it. And it was just like so precious and heartwarming. And if you're searching for just like a quick novella read that kind of touches on the things that I'm saying, and also that features, you know, all of the different things I've been saying, then definitely check it out. And as I said, I think it's a good like gateway into this other kind of series slash historical fiction world that they've built, because now I'm really intrigued. So if you're anything like me, then maybe you'll also be intrigued. And the other review I wanted to talk about in the 12 Friends, 12 Books first mini review series is It Sounded Better in My Head by Nina Kenwood. This is a recommendation from Marie from Drizzle and Hurricane Books. And you'll find out the backstory about how this book came into my life before Marie recommended it in the video. I don't want to like repeat everything 5 million times. I just thought I would listen to the audiobook, and I loved the narrative voice so much. I thought that the narrative voice was so quirky and detailed and relatable, and had all of these things about like relatable angst and this moment of change in your life where you're not sure, like where we have expectations about how we think our life is gonna go and what we think we're gonna do, and then how that feels when like those ideas are kind of blown out of the water, and realizing that the people we know maybe are different than what we thought, like we're different than what we thought, everybody's different from what we thought, and so is our version of the world, and like change is hard, and being flexible and adaptable and everything, like that's really, really hard. And how do we deal with it? And I also felt like it was really relatable in those struggles, but also relatable in like the narration voice. The narration voice was so strong, and it's not even just because I was listening to it on audiobook, which like makes you hear how strong the narrative voice can be because it's literally in your ears, but it was also like you get so much of the characterization from the different ways that the main character was thinking. And I feel like if you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely read this book, because I think that you get that a lot in some other books. I got that a lot in the Falling in Love montage. It's another really expert way to communicate characterization than just like what they say and what they do, because it's another layer to be like, well, how do you think? How do you make sense of what the character thinks as well? And I think that sometimes we can judge a character a lot on by what they say and what they do, but that extra like level of characterization and how they think and how we read their thoughts on the page is so important and so underrated, I think. But it makes such a difference when you like when an author nails it and when you see it on the page. And that was definitely my favorite aspect of It Sounded Better in My Head. The narration voice was just so there, and because of that, I felt myself pulled through these events and these actions and that relatable existential crisis and terror and pain and like self-confidence issues and like grief, all of these different things together. And it pulls you through so much better and closer and like more emotional, because you just feel like you know the character. You just feel so much more closely connected to them. That brings me to the end of the first of the 12 Friends, 12 Books episodes, I guess is what we could call it. We could call it episodes. I'm fine with calling it episodes. I hope you enjoyed this one. It got on a few different tangents. I don't know how much of this will have stayed in for you, because it got a little off track. It got a little bit like ranty. So I hope you enjoyed. This is the first of the series. I don't know if it will always be like 2 book reviews in one, probably, because I think that if I did only one, it would be very short. So in the future, they'll be like grouped together at least in 2 or, more depending on how I read them. So I can just tell you that from now, the next ones on my list are to read the To Be Taught a Fortunate novella, just because I really want to get to the 4th in the Wayfarer series, and definitely also The Rape of Nanking. that hold is coming off really soon. Basically, I had to delay it because I'm in the middle of a different audiobook, but those are like the next two I think that will get smushed together, I think, for the next video. So if you read any of the books that I mentioned, please let me know. Also, please let me know if you've also read a book where the character narration, like the inner voice of the character, is really, really strong, because I really want to read more books like that, because they just make me so happy. So let me know below. I'll leave all the links, of course, to everyone and the books also below, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!